Hello and welcome to another episode of Earth911's Sustainability in Your Ear. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe, and we're back to have another fascinating conversation about the future of sustainability. We're going to talk today about Plastic Bank, which is a Vancover, BC-based social venture with a novel approach to preventing plastic pollution in coastal communities. We're talking with David-Katz, he's the founder of the organization, and through partnerships with more than 200 companies, including Procter Gamble, HelloFresh, L'Oreal, and Coca-Cola, among others, Plastic Bank has set up a private incentive program that compensates more than 30,000 plastic recyclers in the Philippines, Indonesia, Brazil, and Egypt for picking up plastic from the beach and along waterways, amongst other places. To date, Plastic Bank has stopped over 99 million pounds of plastic waste, about the equivalent of 2 billion plastic bottles, from entering the world's ocean, and the pace of its collections is accelerating. The people who collect plastic are paid for the material they deposit at more than 511 Plastic Bank branches that the company operates. They also use a blockchain-based data collection and reporting system that helps collectors track their earnings and which provides transparency and traceability for the plastics captured by the program. Plastic Bank then works with processors to convert the collected bottles into what they describe as social plastic. It's a raw material for making new products. They sell plastic number 1, number 2, and number 4 to industry to recover their costs. This may be a solid model for collecting harder to recycle materials too, so we wanted to learn more and asked David to join us today. You can learn more at plasticbank.com. Plastic Bank is one word, no dash, no space, plasticbank.com. Welcome to the show, David. How are you?
I am amazing. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Well, it's great to have you here. And I wanted to talk with you because you describe your mission as creating a regenerative society, and we're all in on that. What I wanted to ask is, what percentage of a regenerative society, when you think about it, will be dedicated to collecting and processing waste? It's a part of the economy that really barely exists relative to what it's going to look like. How big can a regenerative economy system get?
I look into the future now. I'm looking into, a generation and a half, 2 generations from now. Mm-hmm. And I can conceive that there will certainly be a time where we stop taking all of our materials, all these resources coming into our households, putting them outside where someone takes them and takes them to a landfill. Certainly we see a time where all material types are put back into a regenerative economy, put back into circularity, and feed a global circular supply chain of materials. Now, certainly the current types of materials being used, there's many things that will change in the process, but I know that's coming. And Plastic Bank is launched that very idea in the areas that need it now, those areas that leach the most amount of material into waterways leading to the ocean. So,
and it's a pressing problem. So as you think about the volume of materials in society, mm-hmm. How much of our economy should we be thinking about shifting towards this regenerative model?
Well, all of it, certainly. I don't think that there's going to be ever any need to continue to consider or communicate the word waste. The word itself ultimately leads society into a way that has them discard and diminish each other as well, mm-hmm. as thing. All of it's going to be returned into circularity. We have to. It's, as a society at the brink of collapse, facing the greatest rate of extinction ever, we have to be in the real knowing here that it's not about Earth Day or Oceans Day. It's really Save Humanity Day. And I think that the great part about humanity is that we iterate quickly in order to propagate our survival. So we know it has to occur. And I know that everything that we're doing in society, everything else that is occurring that will take us to a place of greatness is not against the laws of physics. It'll all be returned to circularity. That's for sure.
So one of the benefits of this kind of an approach is it has a variety of positive environmental and social impacts. What kinds of benefits are you seeing delivered in the Plastic Bank communities that you serve?
The Plastic Bank community that we serve ultimately is global. Not only are we working in the emerging markets where we have an opportunity to lift people out of the despairs of poverty, to keep them having to go to loan sharks to borrow money to have a baby, for instance, or having to withdraw their children from school because they can't afford the tuition as the father is injured at work or something like that. The profound impact in the society, but also creates a profound impact in the lives of the people who are buying the material or buying the packaging that receives social plastic as an input. Whether people know it or not, when they buy something with social plastic, they're participating in change. It's beginning to create that wave, the ease that the world needs. We need to make it very easy for the world to change, and that's a part of the Plastic Bank mission. No matter where you are in the world, you have a beautiful opportunity to participate in the change for yourself, for the environment, and for society.
So I was really intrigued by what a plastic bank branch is like. Can you describe what a typical branch office looks like, and what's the experience for collectors who visit?
Well, a branch can be anything with Plastic Bank. Well, certainly it's a physical location where you can go in with your materials and there's a teller, just like a bank branch. And they identify yourself through the application. It's a blockchain-based banking application. So you bring in your bank account. The material is sorted. It's quantified, qualitative. It's qualitative as well. A value is established, and it's deposited into your account where you have a digital savings. You can extract cash immediately if you need to convert into cash, or within the network, you could go to a local pharmacy, for instance, and spend the value at a pharmacy and withdraw pharmaceuticals. Now that's one iteration of a branch, or it currently could be a school, one of the hundreds of opportunities. So that you can go to the school. The school, we ultimately teach the 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old children to teach their parents about environmental stewardship, ocean conservancy, and about plastic as a sense of money. The family, instead of burning the material or throwing it in the canal or street, bring it to the school where it's weighed at the school. And the same process occurs where value is then deposited into the account of the family. The school makes a little bit of money. The family makes some money. The family then has the ability to substantiate a credit worthiness score based on the frequency of the material. And the child learns that by stewarding the environment, some of the pains of poverty can leave.
That's fascinating. I mean, and I also read about the fact that you offer bonuses at these branches. What kinds of bonuses do you offer, and how does it get people to do more?
Well, it's the gamification, incentivization. I use this conversation. If every piece of packaging we saw, and let's call it a bottle. Let's say every bottle, as a metaphor for all plastic packaging, if every bottle was $5, would we see any thrown out of car windows, in the ditch, in the street, on the beach? I would argue not. If everything was $5, everyone would be going to get them. And even if the rich didn't go get them, the majority of society would not let that go to waste, and everyone would go get it. So it substantiates two things. One, that it's not the material. It's not the material value, it's us. It's the way we've been viewing the material. And so as we change our paradigm of the material and we create a location-based incentive process for people to see the material and then realize its value. Because even if it was $5, unlike or not dissimilar to walking over a field of diamonds, if you were to walk over a field of diamonds and you want to pick them all up, but there's no bank you could take the diamonds to, no store you could spend them at, no one exchanges with you, you don't pick them up. Even if they're worth $5, they're worthless to you. So it's those two ideas that live in the plastic bank. Reveal the value in the material through bonuses and incentives and gamification, and then create the location-based opportunity for the material to be returned to, so that you can actually realize the value.
Now, one of the things that your site says is you're aiming to get to 10 billion bottles next, and that represents about 1.7% of the 583 billion produced in 2021.
Oh my God, so much work to do.
Yeah. So that's the question. What are the prospects for collecting all of the PET, the number one plastic bottles made every year? I mean, is that a goal for you? Are you really thinking that far out?
Well, we are. Certainly we are. We certainly are thinking that. And it's not necessarily just for us to do this. And the power of being on this show with you as well is to elicit this idea, this way of thinking for the rest of society, so that they can also participate in creating a monetary standard out of all material types, so that people can then monetize those things for good. It's an army of solutions by an army of entrepreneurs that's required. For us to do it alone, I don't think was going to come as fast as society needs it to be. So we need to continue to share the idea that we've been inadvertently depositing the very value to end all suffering, all poverty in the world. That's the truth of it all.
Well, and again, that goes back to your social venture approach. Your willingness to share the market is in stark contrast to the exclusivity that every brand is searching for in the traditional economy.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of a ground-up approach does represent a different way of thinking about waste. The way I've often described it is we live in a mine. We just haven't recognized that we're surrounded by all this value.
Amen. No question. And it's that traditional business thinking that got us here. It's the scarcity thinking that has returned society to where it is today. The scarcity thinking, an abundance mindset, a true infinite mindset has the opportunity to unlock all things. And that's what we do. And we're continue to be motivated. I continue to be personally motivated to exhibit profitability in the abundance mindset so we can launch other entrepreneurs in the same way of thinking. That's also part of the mission.
You must have looked at this market, the environment that you're in, and thought there are other materials we could be mining. Do you have, you envision paper or aluminum or e-waste?
No, of course, no. We're material agnostic. It should be all thing. Okay. Everything has value. The platform that we've built also allows you to create your own marketplace. So if you'd like to be able to recycle or collect abandoned boats, do so. Do you want to collect abandoned cars from the streets of the emerging communities that clog and impede access? Then of course you should be able to create a process for that as well. All material types should be collected and returned, whether it be organic, inorganic, any type of plastic, any type of material you'd like to be able to create a platform for. Absolutely. We convert the physical to the digital. That's it. Something physical can be the value can be then converted into a digital marketplace that allows you to realize that value within a network. You want to convert paper into a digital value that you can then order groceries with, or pharmaceuticals, or have access to doctor care, or receive insurance for school tuition if something happens. A child doesn't have to be removed from school, and on and on.
So are the companies that back Plastic Bank also purchasing the recovered plastic for reuse in their products? Is this really a form of building the circular economy from the inside out?
It's precisely what it is. We continue to create an opportunity for the world's most progressive organizations who want to stand on the right side of history to exhibit their forward thinking, to allow them to participate now, to know that things don't have to be perfect before we begin, knowing that the perfect is the enemy of the good enough, giving them an opportunity to participate and purchase that material we collect and return it into the circular supply chain. Of course.
Well, the remarkable thing is once you start measuring things, you can assess the value a lot more conveniently than we ever thought about it. And so I was really interested in your blockchain approach. It provides transparency and tracking of the plastic collected, but it also has a carbon impact of itself. Have you looked at ways to reduce the blockchain carbon footprint, or do you offset the emissions associated with using blockchain?
There's a distinction between crypto mining and using a database. I mean, we use the energy of a couple of light bulbs to administer what we do.
Well, it depends on how you talk to the blockchain, though. Are you using something like Cardano, which does?
We're ultimately IBM architected and engineered. So it's a Hyperledger fabric hosted in the IBM cloud, but there's no mining of it. It's really just a database. It's a distributed database. We just use the authenticity, transparency, traceability of a technology, a fourth industrial revolution technology that allows all people to see all process, all transaction. So there's nothing to go in and mine and try to create. It just exists and collects data. So certainly that is I think a distinction, because many people do think that blockchain is a cryptocurrency, and then the cryptocurrency they understand is you got to go and mine the value of it somehow, but that's not.
That's actually not what I'm asking. That's not.
I'm sorry.
Because I know how blockchain works. There is a substantial carbon footprint associated with registering something to some blockchains. For instance, Cardano is designed to reduce that carbon overhead, and so. What I hear you saying, and let me ask and to a degree challenge you on it, is blockchain a platform that we really can rely on for a sustainable approach to measuring the new economy? Or do we need to make changes and continue to optimize that platform so that we can eventually even reduce the need for electricity to mine the original tokens. Are we really, can we count on blockchain at this point, or do we need to do more work?
We count on blockchain, and I go back to the conversation that perfect is the enemy of the good enough, and what we're doing is sequestering tens of millions of kilograms of carbon, and the material itself is terrestrial carbon. And so we're doing everything we can to be able to capture that and continue to prohibit its flow from entering into sensitive marine ecosystems, which is the work of it. Can we always get better? For sure. Can everything continue to iterate, find more efficient ways to do things? Absolutely. Now, I hesitate in the conversation as well, because there are just so many people that hesitate to begin because they don't think it's perfect yet. And so even in the conversation, it can elicit fear with people that believe that they have an idea, but then want to make sure that it's going to be perfect before they start. We
are absolutely on your page here. We do not believe in the perfect. The good enough is what we need at this point. And
we need good enough, so we start. Now, for us, the transparency, traceability, and I'll give you an additional example of the way we benefit from the blockchain, is that when we can rely on data, when we can know that there's a level of truth inside of it, any energy I apply to truth. Now, let's look at it in a binary fashion, zeros and ones, where falsehood is 0, truth is 1. If I apply 1,000 units of energy to falsehood, I get 0. If I apply 1,000 units of energy to truth, I get 1,000 units. It allows me to be more exponential in the application of energy, whether it be human or physical, to those things that we know that we can benefit from, as opposed to applying energy to those things that we can't benefit from or can't rely upon. So there's, I think, countless ways to look at it and understand that in authenticity of data, and as we collect additional data, it'll allow others as well to be able to benefit from the data because there's truth inside of it.
And sharing that data, just as you were talking about sharing the idea of growing this solution, this approach to solving the plastic pollution problem, for instance, is another expression of a different mindset about how to build and grow a business. What was your background? Where do you come from that you're thinking this way about plastic?
I've always been an entrepreneur. And I think that part of that is really just, I have this capacity to go through uncertainty and risk and persevere. And when you look at what is unfolding in our aquatic ecosystems, I don't think that you can sit back and not be moved by it. Everyone that I have met so far has some image in their mind of a decomposing corpse of a bird or a whale or something, and they're moved. And certainly I was moved, and I recognized that someone needed to be in action. And I was able to agree that I'm someone that I could at least try. And it wasn't really about the end of it all, because it certainly could have been an overwhelming thought here to build a global supply chain of material that's returning volumes back into manufacturing and working with the poor and building a banking application and all the rest of it. I recognize that I get to embark on a journey of my own life. And it wasn't about being the person that could get any of this done. It was about choosing to become the person that could. And everything that we see now is all as a reflection of the person that I continue to choose to evolve to be. There's still a giant journey ahead of me, of course. And there's always going to be more work to do, but I get to look at it and I get the benefit of it all. It's really the beauty of it.
So were you in finance prior to this, or
no? I was entrepreneurship. Always been in entrepreneurship. The business I had previous to this was in kind of GPS tracking. It was a field called telematics, where I was able to help develop a tool that would be installed inside vehicles that let workforces understand where their staff are, how to reduce the expense or the
measurement.
Measurement. I've been in measurement. Let's call it that. Yep.
Now, you also take donations, and you talk in terms of impact per dollar. How many bottles are you able to collect with $1 of donations?
Certainly, we continue to be in a place of trying to execute over a social enterprise, which is really what we are. We are so overwhelmed and so inspired by those people who want to just give, and they want to participate in a social enterprise. They want to participate in a business, so inspired by it that they want to donate, which is beautiful.
Mhm.
Now, we can communicate in bottles, but we can also communicate impact. Because when someone creates a space where they provide additional revenue for us, we may, add another couple of recyclers in a community. That may add school programming. That may add all kinds of things. But it really is about a penny a bottle if we want to give it a very high-end conversation. Yeah. Every penny provides the infrastructure, the ecosystem, the reporting to return a bottle from the environment. It's a penny per bottle. We could ultimately change the world if we created a 1 penny deposit program that was then administered in the developing world. That it's enough to as well add profitability and create a perpetual ecosystem that collects volumes of material.
Well, and there's the path to the 583 billion bottles we make every year. And do you see in the rising tide of extended producer responsibility regulation, mostly in Europe, but it's starting in the US, a potential for a political change of mindset about how we finance cleaning up our planet?
I think it's being ultimately driven by the next generation of consumer. Nonetheless, we look at the Greta generation and we look at a society that went through the financial crisis and then had conversations of ocean acidification, marine debris, climate change, the pandemic, now war. You have an entire generation of those that have been scared and they're looking to do their business and do their work at organizations that take that fear and that pain away. Now, that next generation is going to be the next generation of politicians as well. And so it's coming. It certainly is coming. And the organizations we deal with, not just inspired to stand on the right side of history, but also recognize that they have trouble hiring the next generation of creative, the one that stands for whether it be business or whatever it may be, because they don't yet have purpose embedded. So the purpose economy is unfolding. The regeneration economy is unfolding. And that society, that generation is the next generation of decision maker. So whether it's occurring today fast enough, which I would say it's not, but I am inspired by the knowing that it's going to be. And that change, whether it be through extended producer responsibility schemes or whatever it may be, or legislation or some, political opportunity, it's arriving in one form or another.
Well, David, that's a great place to end this conversation because it's a beautiful vision. How can our listeners get involved and support Plastic Bank?
What I would like every listener to do, I don't even care. Don't go. Who cares about going to plasticbank.com? I don't really care. What I want everyone to do really is go into their favorite store.
Okay.
Be bold, be courageous, go to the store, ask for the manager and say, Mr. Manager, can you point out the items that are regenerative, that have purpose, that are going to do well, or even those that have social plastic in them or recycled content, whatever it is. Go to your store and exhibit the demand, because the big brands don't care what you think. I assure you, they only care about the retailer. Their customer is the retailer. You're the customer of the retailer. So you go to the retailer and exhibit the demand of the retailer will exhibit the demand to the brands.
That's excellent advice. That genuinely is excellent advice. And we ask a lot of our guests the same question, and I don't think I've heard as succinct as an answer. You're right. It really is about the retailer who makes the big buy that changes the direction of the company.
Correct. And if you work at a retailer, go do the same thing.
Well, David, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us today and doing so from Hawaii, because I know this was a bad time for you, but I appreciate you doing it.
It was a pleasure to be on the show, Mitch. Thank you so much.
We've been talking to David Katz. He's the founder of Plastic Bank, and you can find out more at plasticbank.com. He says don't go there and sign up, but do go there and find out what they're doing. And consider making a donation. If you can put $1 in and they can pick 100 bottles from a beach somewhere in Asia that won't end up in the Pacific plastic gyre, that's a step in the right direction, folks. And think too about your community and that field of diamonds that we treat as waste that is all around us. Our society has spent 150 to 200 years packing our environment with a lot of stuff that can be reused. We just haven't found ways to do it. We haven't had people think of businesses to drive that. It doesn't have to be a business. It could be a government program, but take some action. Think about it. I'm sure that if you spend a few minutes looking around you, you'll see the value that's just lying about. This is Earth 911 Sustainability in Your Ear. We're going to be back with another innovator interview soon. In the meantime, folks, take a few minutes and share this podcast and many of the others that we've done with your friends and family, the neighbor's dog. Let's get everybody talking about more ideas so we can create less waste. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of one another, and let's all take care of this beautiful planet of ours. Have a green day.